The WNBA draft ratings are officially in, and boy, oh boy, do we have some things to talk about.
Let's address the elephant in the locker room. You know exactly who we mean. Geno Auriemma, the UConn legend, master of passive-aggressive interviews and unofficial president of the Anybody But Caitlin Clark Club. His prized player, Paige Bueckers, just had her moment in the WNBA draft spotlight, but instead of the media frenzy we saw when Caitlin Clark went #1 overall last year, what did we get this time? A quiet response and honestly a major dose of reality.
For the last few months, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that Paige Bueckers is a draw. Me personally, I think she's a star, but I'm not exactly convinced that she is a draw.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Paige Bueckers' draft viewership didn't just fall short, it flopped compared to Caitlin Clark's. Sure, 1.3 million viewers is respectable, but
when Clark declared for the draft last year, a jaw-dropping 2.6 million tuned in.
That's double the audience, double the hype. And if you think that's just a coincidence, then honestly, you haven't been paying attention.
You'll find a lot of stars, but there's only a handful of draws. There's only a handful of people over the past 40 or 50 years who have the impact, the drawing power to elevate the product into the mainstream.
The media has been doing backflips trying to crown Paige Bueckers as the next face of women's basketball. ESPN's been flooding the airwaves with highlight reels, exclusive interviews, and even slipping in that signature Geno Auriemma smirk during post-game pressers, all to keep the narrative alive. But here's the truth. No amount of Connecticut mystique or coach speak can hide what the numbers scream loud and clear. Caitlin Clark is the draw. Period.intro.
Whether or not Paige Bueckers is a star or a draw, that remains to be seen. Judging by the ratings for the Dump Diver draft the other night, Paige Bueckers is not a mainstream draw yet. WNBA drew 1.3 million viewers the other night for the draft on ESPN. Now, that number, it can be credited 100% to Paige Bueckers because every other player involved was completely unknown.
This isn't about Paige lacking talent. She's got skills, no doubt about it. But star power? That electric presence that fills arenas and dominates every sports talk segment? That belongs to Caitlin Clark. The draft numbers didn't lie. The basketball world voted with their eyeballs, and they weren't buying into the Geno-led hype machine. Let's be real. Geno Auriemma has a legendary resume. More championships than entire franchises. But lately, his critiques have started sounding less like seasoned insight and more like jealous uncle energy.
Although 1.3 million is a great number for the WNBA, it is significantly below what Caitlin Clark drew last year. Matter of fact, it's 50% lower than what Caitlin Clark drew last year.
You know the type, the one who rolls into Thanksgiving dinner, dishing out passive-aggressive. Zingers like, that's nice, but back in my day, yeah. That's been Geno's energy toward Caitlin Clark for the last 2 seasons. Classic salty uncle behavior.
You're a great college player, like Caitlin was. The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's 3rd or 4th in betting odds on being MVP at the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning.
He's been downplaying her stats, brushing off her impact, and constantly reminding the world that her fans are just a bunch of delusional hype chasers. Meanwhile, his star player just got eclipsed by someone who, plot twist, never needed a UConn jersey to become a national icon. Sure, the UConn PR machine is still chugging along, but let's be honest, the wheels are wobbling. During the draft broadcast, the whole vibe was off.
I'm here with Anissa and Rakia, and we are holding it down right now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
It's okay.
Sorry. What?
Go ahead, say your name.
Cheyenne Zellers. I'm so sorry. That is embarrassing. Cheyenne, I apologize by the way. That's so embarrassing.
Fell flat. Names were butchered, the energy was low, It felt like everyone in that room knew exactly what was missing. The shadow of last year's main event was just too big to ignore.
2025 second most viewed WNBA draft of all time, with an average of 1.25 million viewers, with a peak of 1.46 million viewers, up 119% versus 2023. And I know what the question may be. 2023, 2020. Well, Ben, just out of curiosity, because we're all curious around here, right? We all want to be well informed. What is it compared to the 2024 draft?
Even veteran broadcaster Tim Wilson didn't mince words. Off air, he called the difference between this year's draft and last year's night and day. And he wasn't wrong. One had a star who made history. The other, a star the league is trying to manufacture.
It's down 49%. 49% of the audience said, yeah, I'll go watch paint dry instead. In fact, some people, Jason Whitlock, he didn't even realize the WNBA draft took place the other night. He found that out the next morning, that Paige Bueckers and the WNBA draft had actually taken place. Last year, 2.45 million, peaked with 3.09 million, up 307% from the previous high back in 2004.
So let's zoom out. Why do ratings matter this much? Because in pro sports, ratings aren't just numbers. They're dollar signs. They decide ad spend, sponsor deals, TV contracts, the whole ecosystem. A 49% drop in viewership, that's not just a stat you brush off, that's a full-blown marketing crisis. That's a boardroom-level meltdown. That's someone at ESPN getting a very uncomfortable Zoom call from the boss.
601,000 from 2004. So 2024 was up 307%. From 2004, 1.06 million women viewers was the 2024 draft. Now here we go, folks. This is when we get into the nooks, into the crannies, and into the fun.
Here's where things get especially awkward. ESPN and the WNBA spent months hyping Paige Bueckers like she was the one to carry the torch into a new era. They tried to copy the Caitlin Clark playbook. Feature stories, non-stop coverage, teases of a generational moment. But the public didn't bite. And why should they? When you've got the original still lighting it up every night, why settle for the knockoff?
Why was last year's draft such a big deal? Well, Caitlin Clark was getting drafted. Reason number one, Caitlin Clark getting drafted. Reason number two, why it was such a big deal. Well, Caitlin Clark was going number one overall. And the third reason why, calling a spade here, these three women, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink. Perfect storm. A perfect storm, a perfect bill of goods.
And let's not forget social media. Twitter exploded the moment those numbers dropped. No Caitlin, no ratings, one viral post read, another hit harder. They tried to replace the sun with a flashlight. Brutal? Yes. Accurate? Absolutely. The public isn't confused. They've made their choice. Caitlin Clark isn't just part of women's basketball. Right now, she is women's basketball.
Didn't you tell us that in 2004 it was 601,000? My point exactly. They still haven't rebounded from the days of 2004. They still haven't managed to maintain that same audience from 2004. Until Caitlin Clark showed up. Until Caitlin Clark arrived on the scene, and then they're going to boast about a measly 1.25 million. You guys want to know what's funny about 1.25 million? 1.25 million is closer to the 601,000 in 2004 than it is to the 2.45 million in 2025. We're already closer to 2004 numbers than we were.
And that's exactly what's driving people like Geno Auriemma crazy. It must sting, right? To spend decades building the most iconic brand in women's college hoops, only to watch a player from Iowa steal the spotlight. Caitlin Clark did what no one outside of UConn has done in years. She made women's basketball must-watch TV. She turned regular season games into headline news, packed college gyms like NBA arenas, and did it all. Without Geno's help. In fact, she did it despite the constant side eyes from people like him.